Welcome everyone to our Team 24 recap webinar. I'm really excited to dig into all the hot takes, trends, insights, announcements from Team 24. There was a lot of information that came out, so we're excited to dig into it and hopefully give you some more insight and answer some questions, talk about some things that are coming up. We'll obviously have a lot more takeaways and content coming out about Team 24 in the coming weeks and months. But yeah, excited to have you all here and do a little recap of Vegas. A few housekeeping items just before we get started. Yes, we're recording. We will be sharing the recording after the webinar. So you can go to our website and find the recording and a copy of the slides if there's anything that you missed or if you want to share this with anyone on your team. And then we will be answering questions at the end of the session. So there's the Q&A button. I know some people already found it. Feel free to throw questions in as we're going through our conversation, and then we will take time at the end to answer all of those. With all of that being said, hello, I'm Erin Phillips. I'm our Director of Product Marketing at ISO Technology, and I do a lot of our content, and I'm the host of our podcast, if you haven't checked that out yet. Today I'll be hosting this webinar. So I want to introduce you to all of the panelists that are joining. Sam, our Chief Operating Officer. He is here and is going to shower us with insight and interesting information. Hello, Alex.
Hey, Erin. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Next, we have Nick Sommerfeld, our manager of the solution engineering team. He is also here to lend his perspective.
Hey, everyone. Glad to be here.
John Johnson joining us. Our TPO of data and integration basically just means he's a super expert in migration, integration, and anything to do with data. Hi, John.
Howdy, howdy. Let's get it rocking.
Let's get it rocking. And Megan Hawley, our VP of Strategic Initiatives, lots of insight, and right now leading our practices in both organizational agility and our public sector. So hello, Megan.
Hey, good morning.
Okay, so I want to kick it off with a poll and get some information about what everyone on the call, what everyone on this webinar is most interested in learning about. So we have a few topics that were covered at Team 24, and we will touch on all of these today. But yeah, would love to know kind of what would be most helpful for you to hear about, and we can maybe focus on some of those topics a little bit more or make sure that we hit them. We'll give it probably a minute for people to vote. And I can't see the answers as they're coming in, so this is going to be revealed in real time.
The big reveal.
Yeah, exactly. We have AI, enterprise cloud, product and feature announcements, privacy and security, I know that's a really big one. And then a new concept from Atlassian, which we will be talking more about, system of work. Okay, should we share a poll result? Let's do it. Okay, product and feature announcements, definitely the big winner. Atlassian Intelligence AI, right? We figured that would be a second. Nobody cares about privacy and security. Great. Awesome. Everyone can just move to the cloud and turn on AI and we're good to go. Okay. We will definitely be doing some product and feature announcements. We will be talking about AI. We'll touch on cloud, system of work, and we will sprinkle in a little bit of privacy and security. So awesome. Okay. Wanted to start out with what we know is one of the hot topics. Everyone has an opinion on AI. whether that's Atlassian intelligence or artificial intelligence. But AI is everywhere. So I wanted to get everyone's take on your perspective on AI. We'll go around the room, how it's going to impact customers, anything new, interesting. Megan, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, absolutely. I was very excited about all of the things that they brought up around AI, and I know we're going to dive deep into that. Just coming from, a developer, I'm not a developer, but having a lot of developers that have worked on my teams in the past, I was very excited about the Optic acquisition that Atlassian made that's going to allow API documentation to be kept up to date using AI features. I think that is going to save people so much time, and literally no one enjoys keeping documentation up to date. So I'm excited about that.
Yes, documentation is many people's downfall, many teams' downfall, because who has time to do it? What about you?
Sorry, did you say me?
Yes.
Sorry, you cut out there for a second. I didn't hear you. Sorry, my fault. So I think for me, my biggest takeaway on AI from the conference was just that it's obviously still evolving. It feels very much like it's still in the early adopter phase. A lot of the comments that I heard around the conference expressed, I think, a level of curiosity mixed with a level of skepticism, which I think is probably natural for where we are in this journey right now. AI is still super new, and there are some people that are super excited about all the possibilities that it presents. But I think there are also still some people that are, for lack of a better term, a little bit scared, or a little bit nervous about it. And I think that is completely okay. And I guess what I would say is it's better that Atlassian is looking to be out in front of this so that as the general public, as consumers become more comfortable with it, there's going to be some support there for it. So I think to me, it's all natural and it's all in a good place. But I think there's some probably what I would call healthy skepticism about it right now. And that was kind of my big takeaway from it.
And I know there's some warranted skepticism, even though people are excited about it. Nick, what about you? What are your thoughts on AI?
Yeah, so I mean, it's related to ITSM and how agents interact with Jira Service Management from an AI perspective. Like, if you can defer, or you can reduce the amount of touch points you have to have on a ticket, or the amount of time it takes to reply, or even not have to reply, using all of the features that all the AI features that are now in the portal or in Jira Service Management itself within tickets. That was the biggest takeaway, where you can, generate Confluence pages off of tickets, or grab old tickets and data to feed into solving your customers' questions. So a much smoother agent experience is what was pretty cool to see from all the AI that's being baked in.
Yes, anything to help people work smarter, work faster. Those answering tickets, providing support, better customer experience, better agent experience. John, take us home on AI.
I would really just kind of piggyback Alex's comments on the skepticism. I sit in this camp of general skepticism and concern for privacy and security. I will say the documentation piece is an interesting one, but I actually prefer writing documentation, so I might be in the single digit minority on that one. I would admonish customers that are putting themselves in enterprise environments with AI to understand that tool and that piece of technology is learning off of the data that you give it. And so this is an ample opportunity to be mindful of the data that you're exposing to that tool and that utility in cloud. No one likes to have to sit in compliance and risk assessment meetings. Getting out in front of it ahead of time when working with AI will ensure that you don't expose yourself to greater risk in the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things about AI is it ideally opens up more collaboration, which is one of the topics that we also talked about at Team, cross-functional collaboration. And Atlassian has been doing a lot there to bring different teams together, make it easier to work across projects, across parts of the org. So let's talk a little bit about cross-functional collaboration. We are really hoping to see better collaboration, visibility, reporting. Those are all the things that the Atlassian platform allows. Is, again, those teams to be able to work across different products, but then have the same place that they're going to or a similar experience without having to context switch. Alex, do you want to share some of your thoughts on this and anything new that was shared at Team?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Aaron. I think for me, the really interesting thing that came out of Team, and you heard it across a lot of different pieces and parts of the different presentations and kind of just the way Atlassian was approaching the conference, that they're sending a clear signal that they're looking to continue to mature their tool set. And I think what we see there is all the M&A activity, all the different things that Atlassian's been through over the last several years, pulling in different tools from different places and kind of just throwing them out there and letting people figure out how they interact, how they integrate or don't integrate, as the case may be. I think, as you heard about the Atlassian system of work, like all that different stuff, what they're telling you is that they're looking to create an end-to-end solution and really looking to mature that tool set so there is integration and that allows for that cross-functional collaboration like we're talking about. So as an example, combining Jira software and Jira work management, now making that Atlassian Jira in the cloud. Confluence and Trello also, and how they interact with those tools. I think they're looking to really make those tools more complementary to each other even than they have been. And like I said, more integrated. I think AI fits into that piece as well. All part of that end-to-end solution. And I think what that also offers is the opportunity for solution selling. So I think that's what you're going to see as well as we move forward here. It's really just all under the heading of the maturation of the Atlassian tool set. And I thought that was pretty interesting and pretty fun.
Yeah, I think that cross-functional, collaborative, federated, all of these words have been used for a while, I think, under the Atlassian stack, but now we're seeing them sort of come together and be true, be real, right? It's been a little difficult over the last 4 or 5 years as the number of products have multiplied, right? Starting 4 or 5 years ago in this ecosystem, you had to work, think about 3 products, maybe 4. Now it's more than that, many more than that. And so the cross-functional piece is huge. If teams can't figure out where they work best and how they work best with other teams working in a different tool with it, under the Atlassian umbrella. So
yeah, and kind of under that heading, it's been sort of self-serve until now, right? Like it was kind of like figure this out, hey, however you want to use it is fine. And I think what we're seeing now is the evolution in that tool set. So Atlassian has an opinion about how you ought to use it, and they'll go, oh, this is what this is for, this is what this is for, and they're trying. They've been really diligent over the years at collecting use cases, and I think they're now this doesn't mark a completion, right? This marks the beginning of that next step in the evolution. And so I think there's still more progress to be made there, but I think it's interesting to see how those things are coming together.
Yeah, much more prescriptive, right? Which is good and bad. Everyone wants to work that they want, the way that they want to work, but the Atlassian best practice or the ISO best practice still hopefully holds some weight. We like to think so. But yeah, they're very prescriptive now in their opinions on where teams should work within the stack.
Any other thoughts on cross-functional collaboration?
Last thing I just wanted to chime in on is I was really excited when they were talking about unified search, because as we get more cross-functional teams, really being able to track that context across, for the marketing team that's maybe mostly living in Confluence, to be able to also see, okay, here's where it's also this project's been referenced in Jira and some of the other properties. I think it's going to be huge. I think Atlassian knows that their search feature hasn't been historically their strongest. And so I was really excited when they started talking about unified search. And then even being eventually able to search in like some of the third-party tools that get connected in, like, Google Drive and things like that. That's going to help a lot when you've got, cross-functional teams all trying to use this one solution.
Yes, going back to what you mentioned about documentation before and just having information living in so many different places, data living in so many different places, being able to search across all of those different tools, different places that teams are working in is going to be huge. Speaking of, let's talk about developer experience. That's been a foundational part of Atlassian's story. Obviously, they started with Jira, which is, primarily in the beginning used by developers. But DevOps, DevSecOps, whatever you want to call it, is constantly evolving. What are some insights you can give us about how that developer experience is changing? And Megan, I think you have some things you want to weigh in on here. Ooh, it looks like Megan dropped off. I think she's having some internet issues. Nick, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, for sure. So, like you mentioned, they're getting back to their roots a bit, being the friends of developers as opposed to, this disparate feature set that has been more focused on anything but for a while. Compass sort of brings that all back, and now we have Megan back. Megan, you can take it away.
No, go ahead. I'm so sorry. I got kicked out of the webinar there, right when you said my name, Aaron. I was just going to say that I was really excited about all the focus they gave this. There were over 14 new features announced for developers, which is the most out of any category. And I know, Nick, you were probably giving like a deep dive into specific ones, so I'll pass it back to you and then I can chime in.
Yeah, no, just I wanted to touch on a few things related to that, more specifically for Compass and Optic, and not to dive in too far, but again, to bring the experience back to the developers and new features. Compass has been out for a little while now. It's starting to have a decent footprint, but now they're baking some of those features into Jira. So the components piece, as an example, is what I wanted to talk about. And to harken back to what Alex was saying about cross-functional collaboration, you're not jumping from your Jira software project to Compass or going through the commits or pulls or different things like that to get to where you need to go as a developer to see certain things. They're actually using native features within Jira software projects to promote the features that help developers, right, in their day-to-day workings within Jira. So having components directly related to Compass components to show all the data of what you expect to see if you go to Compass and look at components is great. The only other thing that I wanted to talk about, Megan, before kicking it back over to you, is a little bit about what you mentioned, and I'll just sort of lay more on this, because I do not like documentation under any circumstance. It leads to a lot of problems that I don't like documentation, but nevertheless, it is a problem. So any feature, any tool, any way that can make that better is awesome. So Optic, like you mentioned before, an acquisition. That is one of my biggest takeaways, not just from a developer experience, but I hope to see that expand outside of API documentation. And we can see that already in some of the AI features relative to Confluence, where you can generate pages based off data and tickets or things like that. So it's just the automation of documentation creation. That's a hard phrase to put together, is great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of things I wanted to make sure people knew about. One, in case you missed it, Ops Genie is going away as a standalone product, and they're rolling those features into JSM, Compass, and Jira Product Discovery, which I think will be great. One of the most annoying things that I've had to help customers with over the years is just standing up their standalone Ops Genie and getting the data to integrate properly. And it hasn't been smooth. And I'm really grateful that they're finally really fully integrating. This is an acquisition from years ago, right? They're finally really integrating this into the tool set, which I think is going to be great. And then I also think that some of the things that they talked about for Jira product discovery, and if people aren't familiar with this, this is one of Atlassian's fastest growing products. This is a tool that is used for organizations to prioritize, align, and track future innovation and ideas for their products. So it's really foundational. And with the new introduction of Loom into that, Loom is the video platform that Atlassian acquired about 7 months ago. You'll be able to create a bug report in a single click within the Loom interface. So you'll record a Loom of yourself talking about the bug and the solution, the fix. And then that will automatically, through AI, generate a transcript. And then that transcript will fill out your Jira ticket automatically. So it'll be, very quick bug report. Again, just friends to developers. I think that is going to be a really hot feature that I'm excited about. Yeah.
Yeah, the amount of tickets that are bugs that have no data, and John, you could probably speak more to that, but tickets aren't generally filled out from a bug perspective in a way that helps developers fix those bugs. So that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think just to kind of piggyback off of that, Atlassian is suspecting a substantial amount of time saved per person working out of these tools, especially around developer experience. And when you get into that DevOps, it's not just a developer experience, but it's also the operations side, the expansion of automation, expansion of AI to kind of deploy and handle and support those operational tasks will, in my opinion, improve time to delivery on a lot of those tasks and a lot of those deliverables from an infrastructure standpoint. And then going back to devs first is honestly great because all you have to do is find a programmer or a developer or an infrastructure operations person at a bar, give them a few drinks and ask them how they feel about Jira currently, and you'll get some choice words, in my opinion. So this reshift is honestly great.
Bringing it back. I think we were walking around at Team and people saw the ISO shirts and someone randomly in Vegas like, I hate Jira. So like it definitely resonates. We mentioned a few different features and products that we've covered. So it's time for poll number 2. What Atlassian products that were highlighted at Team are you interested in trialing or implementing within your organization? Jira Service Management, Rovo, which is a new AI feature, Compass, Guard, which is was previously Atlassian Access, and then the new Jira, combination of Jira Work Management and Jira software all rolled into one new, one named Jira. So we'll see what people say.
I personally can't wait to start trying Loom. I know it's
Based on my next slide, I should
we
say
don't have Loom here.
Jira Service Management, but it's probably the Jira and Jira Work Management. I'm super excited to see how there's so many awesome Jira Work Management features that have not made it in Jira software. And so seeing how that's all going to come together, I think it's going to be awesome.
Ooh, drum roll results.
Rovo.
Okay. That tracks.
That tracks, yeah.
Yeah, anything AI
No love for
related.
Guard, huh? No love for Guard, unfortunately.
Again, I'm telling you, this audience, like privacy, security, just out the window. Who cares?
Although we've gotten a question about Guard in the Q&A, so, or at least a comment on it. So I'm just saying, it's out there.
We did. Someone said, no need for alcohol to get my opinion of Jira. I do see some questions rolling in, which we will get to at the end. But okay, moving on. Nick, you alluded to this. We're going to dive into service management. So there's a still a big emphasis on ITSM, ESM, which is Enterprise Service Management. Jira Service Management is Atlassian's fastest growing product. And the goal is really for more and more teams across the enterprise to be using it and taking advantage of service management best practices. So moving it out of IT and only being able to utilize things like JSM and having teams like HR, marketing, finance, facilities. I mean, we've seen all sorts of teams in working with customers that are taking advantage of JSM functionality. So Nick, you want to share some insight, trends, conversations you're having?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, addressing the elephant in the room is obviously the ServiceNow to JSM tracks that clients are either, or organizations are interested in investigating or actively looking into. Does it make sense to move, or they're making the move? We've done it a bunch. You know, there were a few presentations on it at Team. I think we have to mention price as one of the drivers, right? Features, sure, but there's more parity there. There's not a huge difference. I would say from maybe a CMDB perspective, the ServiceNow side has a little bit of an edge, and we see that gap closing with AirTrack, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But price is one of the huge drivers in going from ServiceNow to JSM. But the business teams are a lot of the teams that are driving that move, because it's much easier for them to manage, much easier for them to run their processes, and it doesn't take weeks to get a simple change done, which is generally what we see on that ServiceNow side. AirTrack, like I said, is I think something that is being rolled out formally in June, I think is their timeline right now. AirTrack's going to be that data aggregator of database, or database aggregator. One thing it is not, and very important to note, it is not a replacement for a discovery tool to feed into assets. So you'll still definitely need some sort of discovery tool, whether it's a one-time run, or it is a recurring discovery tool to actively find new things on your network. You will still need something, but AirTrack will be that layer that it's currently missing of aggregating the different databases that you have into assets and making assets the source of truth. So that's going to be a very awesome thing to launch, I think, again, in a month or two, or next month. And then the last thing is Opsgenie. So it was alluded to a few times. You no longer have to leave JSM to go to Opsgenie to configure schedules or look at routing rules or alerts. It has always been a little wonky setting up incident automation based off alerting. And now with it baked in, not only do you not have to leave, but you get the native automation functions or the native automation UI that is core to Jira or Opsgenie, which is massive. And if you're familiar with the Your Work feature in cloud, if you're on the Your Work page, you see when you're on call, you see the different information that's related to you relative to Opsgenie. So it's all, again, back to the collaboration or cross-functional. All of these different tools under the umbrella are starting to now come together in a meaningful way, which is pretty awesome. Sorry, Alex, I think I stole your thunder on summing up my thing with a bow.
No, you're good. It's great. I think that's all that I had to say about that, honestly. Nick, you go ahead.
Nick, a quick question, just because we're here. Will Opsgenie be included with standard JSM plans? So is this like across the board baked in now?
My understanding, and that's something we can double check on. My understanding is still at the premium level and up. Similar to and to clarify, AirTrack as well will be included in the premium and enterprise versions of Jira Service Management. So standard is not going to get you those extra features.
you still got to level up to get a lot of these fun new things that Atlassian's promising. Okay. Anything else on service management? Otherwise, we're going to move on to enterprise agility. Okay, I'm really excited about this one, actually. So we've talked a lot at ISO about agile, organizational agility, enterprise agility at scale, better ways of working where we don't even say the word agile. That's controversial, but we've talked a lot about this. And at Team 24, Atlassian actually shared a new concept, the Atlassian system of work. And this is their explanation of how teams and work are connected across an organization using the Atlassian tools. So people, practices, and technology are sort of those essential components in any business that are going to lead to success. And Atlassian, laid it out in a way that they're trying to clarify, like, hey, here's how all of our stuff works together and works within your organization. Megan, do you want to just tell us a little bit more about this system of work?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, the Atlassian system of work, they wrapped all their products and practices into a framework that they're calling system of work. And it's really just a framework for how organizations can achieve their goals using all their various products. And at the highest level, they're attempting to make sure that work is connected to strategy, right? So they talk about the new system of work as a house. And at the bottom of the house, you have what they're calling teamwork foundations. These are their products that they want every single person, every team to use. So it's Jira, Confluence, Loom, and Rovo. And in Jira, you see them making moves again to make sure that that strategy and work are connected right from that foundation, that teamwork foundation level. So at that point, one of the exciting things that they've done, well, there's two things I wanted to mention, is that they're taking Atlas, which again was a standalone product, and they're moving that into Jira. One of the components there is called Goals. And so Goals is now going to be available across platform. Why is this important? Well, it will enable every teammate to see how their work ladders up to a company objective. They're going to be using AI to automatically do a two-way sync around that component goals. So if it's updated in Confluence, Jira Product Discovery, or Jira, it's all going to reflect it the same way, no matter where you're looking at your goal. So I think that will really help. And it also, to get goals out of issues and actually into the issues and where the work is being done. So we've got goals coming to Jira and across the platform. They also announced that Advanced Roadmaps is being rebranded as Jira Plans. And that is going to be something where they're also taking some of the really cool dashboards and views that they had developed for Jira Work Management, and they're putting that on top of Advanced Roadmaps, now Jira Plans, and rolling this all into the new Jira experience. So this teamwork foundation is going to be stronger than ever. And then the next level up on the house, they have world-class software development, and we already talked about that there's 14 new features that came out there, and that's where Jira Discovery, Bucket, and Compass sit, and then high velocity service management, which is where JSM sits. And then what they're calling the roof of the house is where executive strategy and planning is happening, is Jira Align. Now, I do want to just mention that it was a little bit of a disappointment that there are no new features coming to Jira Align for 12 more months. That was personally a bit of a downer for me. However, I think the upside is that they are taking all these steps to make it more robust at the Jira level. So using goals, making sure that everyone's using Jira plans, these things will help connect strategy and execution together and give us, let the whole enterprise tell a better story about how they're delivering on value and delivering, value to the company.
Yeah, and there are, Align, at least, well, I'll just say, in my opinion, fits a certain maturity, right? If you're not to that point, but you're interested in the ability to, do the things or track the things that Align helps you do, that's where things like Atlas, Jira Product Discovery, plans, like there are pieces to in the Atlassian stack that can be used to do like a mini Align-ish work, right? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, and Align still, I think, yeah, absolutely. And I would say like Align still offers some really unique values just as is. And, if anyone is interested, we'd love to demo that and talk about it. But I'm also really glad that they're investing in, connecting work to strategy at every level of the house, so to speak, so that all of this helps people have more transparency into, how are their teams moving the needle towards the goals that matter to the company and to their customers?
I was just waiting for someone to use the term Align curious. Who's Align curious out there? That's
There's a lot of questions rolling in, so we will get to those at the end. Yeah, I think that there are a lot of different combinations of solutions that fit where organizations and where teams are at, from a maturity level, from a who's using the tools level. So it's not just Align or nothing, as Nick and Megan were saying. Like, there's a lot of different things that we can kind of fit together and make sure you're getting answers to the things that you need to answer so that you can make better decisions within your organization. Okay, all of that being said, so we've talked a lot about a lot of cool new features, things coming up in the future, exciting announcements and tidbits. The reality is most of this you're only going to get in the cloud, which I know is disappointing for some organizations to hear. But John, I'm going to pass it over to you to talk about cloud and data center, anything new that was brought up at team, kind of where we in this conversation about versus on-prem and what that looks like.
So yeah, so I think that there are just the kind of different conversations that are being had around the journey from data center to cloud, and how Atlassian is kind of approaching that now is a big piece of this. If I'm going to be quite frank and very candid with everyone in the room, the period of time where server was going end of life, and there was this big scramble, this double down push in 2020 to kind of move to cloud as a solution for those clients that were on server that did not see data center as a solution for them. That kind of push, that kind of, hey, we're not supporting this product, because I don't see that, just putting this out there, I don't see that on the roadmap for Atlassian. I do not see Atlassian doing to data center what they did to server in end of lifing it. In fact, as far as the end of life for server, it's simply reducing the redundancy of two products, basically. We have a self-hosted licensed solution that is data center for enterprise clients for whom at this stage, when they doubled down in 2020, cloud wasn't really the move for those enterprise customers at this point. But what we've seen in the kind of the transformation and supporting cloud for those enterprise customers is all of these features and this infrastructural changes they're making to make it more appealing, right? So one example is that year over year from 2020 till now, there's been over 100% increase in the amount of users that are supported per product. They're getting to a point this year, EAP, where Confluence can support 150,000 users in cloud. We're seeing performance improvements in cloud at every step of the way, data security performances, improvements, and things like that. With Guard Premium, which I'm actually very excited about, companies that are very regulatory and compliant, not quite on, government aligned entities, but things such as banks have means of identifying and tracking PCI compliant data that might find their way, shape, or form into the Atlassian stack and cloud. Their integrations with analytics is constantly improving. The ability to import external data sources into analytics to have a one-stop wall-to-wall shop for cloud has been an improvement. I will be candid, there are some things that I wish there were announcements around. I believe the question in the Q&A was around backup solutions within cloud, and that can still be a rather painful experience. It's a basically native backup, one and done type of scenario right now, unless you leverage, third-party platform providers such as Haiku. So that I'm still hoping to see something kind of extended within the native ecosystem in cloud. But right now, it definitely appears that the enterprise side of cloud is more on the luring. How do we lure these enterprise customers in? And for those customers still on data center, it is not as if they are not investing into data center. I know that privacy and security may not be a concern for everyone on this call that may be going to cloud, but as far as data center is concerned, the number of CVEs and security bulletins that were announced last year for the actual products was an exorbitant amount. Releasing a version 10 of JSW, version 9 of Confluence, version 6 of JSM, version 6 of Crowd, and version 9 of Bitbucket is a complete decoupling of the core product Java third-party libraries from the plugin libraries. So the plugins that you install, the actual core products will split out their libraries for better security and better support. And we're seeing clients and customers in that ecosystem that are actually proving the scalability of data center as well. There's an on-demand talk that I would recommend of Wells Fargo hitting and consolidating to the absolute limits that data center has. So I do think there's benefit to it. I think Atlassian right now in their journey is less trying to make it appear as if data center is not the product for clients as they did for server, and more so making the enterprise appealing to those, making cloud appealing to those enterprise clients still on data center.
That's a lot of information. I know we kind of talked about, I think Alex, you said this the other day, like the stick versus the carrot.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, obviously getting people off server was a much more of a stick approach, like, hey, get off server, we're done here. But the move to cloud is really much more about carrot. They are working really hard to try to enable the cloud, like John was saying, by offering more features and saying they're only available in cloud and that sort of thing. But it is true that for those that are more security minded, they have not been able to offer all the assurances in cloud that that some organizations, especially those in highly regulated industries and things like that, necessarily want yet. And I think we see that with the percentage of enterprise customers that have gone to cloud. I mean, Atlassian sees that with the percentage of enterprise customers that have gone to cloud. They offered some stats. I know, John, you were there last year when they offered stats. I'm sure the numbers are a little bit different now, but this is less than a year old, that only 5% of their enterprise customers had actually gone to cloud. Enterprise being, what was it, 5,000 users and above? I think either 5 or 10,000 and above.
It was 10,000. It was 10,000 users.
10,000 and above.
Yeah, last year was 95%. And to be candid, and this came out in reports, you saw last year, I believe there was more purchasing. The purchasing of data center outpaced the purchasing of new enterprise cloud licenses. And so Atlassian is very, very much aware of that, and they want to make cloud the platform for not only the small to medium non-enterprise clients, say maybe on standard or on premium, but for enterprise, they want to make it a very illustrious and appealing option. And so they want to appeal to that 90 to 95% of enterprise data center customers that are not yet on cloud, or even don't have a footprint on cloud. But I mean, to be candid on that, 77% of enterprise clients with Atlassian have some product in cloud right now. So they have some footprint there, and Atlassian wants to expand that. And they're really trying to focus on making that appealing to clients.
Absolutely. Okay, I want to make sure that we have time to get to questions. So I'm going to jump really quick into our third poll. And this is about, we've talked a lot about different ideas. I know more information is going to be coming out from the team. How soon are you looking to implement some of these either products or ideas into within your organization? Right away, ASAP, sooner rather than later. 3, 6, or 12 months, or you haven't even thought about it. There's so much information that you haven't even had time to process yet. And we'll leave this up for a minute.
Yeah, while people are voting, I would just say like the number one takeaway for me was that an immediate effort very worthy of people's time is cleaning up. To John's point earlier, once the AI features are turned on, you know, it's going to be crawling through all of your pages, your Confluence pages and your Jira issues and all of that stuff. And if you have things in there that, you know, either is so out of date that you don't want, you know, Rovo to be referencing and bringing up things that like, you know, aren't going to be helpful when you try to, you know, clean it up now, archive things, or, you know, give some thought to your permissioning now as you're getting ready, waiting for these, you know, waiting for the AI features to be fully unleashed.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, so you have a pretty good spread across the board. A lot of people are right away, I want to do stuff in the next 6 months, and then some too much, haven't thought about it. Sorry, John, I think I cut you off.
Oh no, I was just gonna piggyback on what Megan said, in that the other thing that we're seeing in the transformation too with this is that Atlassian is making the assessments much more easier and automated assessments and blueprints for helping people transition to that cloud as well. So making those recommendations for cleanup so that when this enterprise gets to cloud, when they finally move their operations fully wall to wall in cloud, you know, to Megan's point, they haven't brought over the, I don't want to use the word cruft because I don't want to call people's data cruft, but they haven't brought over the deprecated information, the deprecated settings and things like that as well. And Atlassian is recognizing that that process is painful too, and adding automation to it as well.
I know that we have a lot more info that we want to share. Again, making sure that we have time to get to questions. I think I'm going to just run through a couple other announcements that just wanted to make sure that everyone's aware of. So one, Atlassian University is now free. Any course you want to take, you can go, you can do that. You don't have to pay for it. So that's a huge benefit to teams and organizations if you're trying to learn more and get more out of your Atlassian tools. Go hit up Atlassian University. Everything is available to you for free. And then there are some sessions that are on demand from team that we will share out actually when we send out a follow-up email with the recording. Some recommendations for more sessions to go watch. We'll have information on a lot of what we talked about here today. Some of our favorite things, some things that are really interesting, some customer use cases. But yeah, more to come on that. And then also be on the lookout. Atlassian is going to be rolling out quite a few events over the next few months that are sort of a condensed version of Team 24. So a lot of the information that was shared, product announcements, features, all of that will be going public and be live in really, I think it was in about a week. And then you'll see events popping up all over the globe where people can kind of continue the conversations that were started at Team within the Atlassian community. So yeah, again, a lot more out there and more to come following Team. A few things I'm going to mention are things to leave you with. One is an ITSM assessment that we have actually. This is a great place to start if you're thinking about implementing JSM, bringing more teams onto JSM, leveling up your people and practices, really just for any organization that's trying to deliver city service management. Start here. It's a great way to audit and take stock of where you're at right now and maybe where you want to go. And then shameless plug deeper on how you should use an Atlassian partner to implement and optimize your Atlassian tools. Obviously, we're here today. We have a panel of experts on our team. We have a lot more on the bench that would be love to help your organization solve problems, optimize, get you where you want to go. So just a little bit more of a business case about why using a partner is really valuable when you are using the Atlassian tools. And with that, I'm going to open it up to questions. So let's see. Okay. Atlassian Guard. I know it's a rebrand of Atlassian Access. Anything new there that people should be aware of, or is it really just a name change?
It's not just a name change. So on the premium features for Guard, there's additional data controls that are allowed. So you can now have, say, confidentiality levels. Excuse me. You can have confidentiality levels for data and spaces within Confluence. There's scannings of types of data. So, for example, I've personally worked with quite a few financial tech clients with ISOs for their services, and where they would benefit is what type of data they have within Jira. So, for example, PCI exposed data, it's able to quickly go through that and kind of scan potential security risk and things like that. And it's actually not just a rebrand of Access, it's a combination of Access and Beacon features kind of into a singular product and platform to better have a view and analytics of the type of data and specifically compliant data that will be in your cloud instance.
Thank you. I'm seeing a lot of questions about Rovo actually. So will Rovo be included with enterprise cloud customers, or is it its own thing? And then bug documentation in Rovo, how is that different from Bonfire, Jira Capture, like any of the other things that are out there? I don't know who wants to tackle this one.
I think the first part, and I don't know that we know this 100%, but my understanding is that Rovo is a service, is a product under the stack. That's not to say that at the highest tier enterprise that it's not there or won't be in the future as an inclusion like Atlassian Analytics. But as of right now, I'm pretty certain it's its own service, its own product. And then Megan or John, do you guys have any insight on Loom as a bug documentation?
Rovo.
Well, yeah, Loom with Rovo features like being a differentiator from something like Jira Capture or Bonfire.
Megan, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I'm not actually familiar enough with Bonfire to talk about how it's different. So yeah, but essentially all I know is that they're going to be using the Loom AI to make a transcript out of your report and then posting that to the ticket. I don't know if anyone here knows more about Bonfire, but I don't.
No, and to be honest, if it replaces a marketplace app, why not? Right? Like that's anytime you can bring something native in and not have to pay for a marketplace app, and that's always a good thing.
Okay, I'm also seeing some questions about Ops Genie. Can we review the new Ops Genie UI in Sandbox? And then if you have some set up in Ops Genie as a standalone, will you have to reset it up in Jira Service Management when it all gets combined into one thing?
Yeah, so as you'd expect, a lot of this is a slow rollout. Most of feature releases happen over time, starting with smaller instances first, and then ramping up to the larger instances in cloud. There is a good chance if you spin up your sandbox, you'll see it. If not, I think they're still rolling out those changes. So you'll just have to check back. There's no easy way to find out when yours will be getting that. But you can make sure that you within your sandbox settings, if you want to delay some stuff for now and do the monthly release, considering all the new changes that are coming soon. That may be your best bet to ensure that you can test that in your sandbox first. But if you are currently on Opsgenie standalone, you'll still live in Opsgenie. You don't. It's not as if you're now going to be presented with a JSM interface to manage your Opsgenie configurations. But if you have Opsgenie as part of a JSM package, you will just no longer be able to get to Opsgenie. It'll tell you, you'll get to the login screen, you'll try, and it'll say no. So only if you're standalone Opsgenie will you still manage in Opsgenie.
Thank you for answering that. There's also a question here. I know we touched on backup strategies for cloud. Any more insight that you can provide? I know that we also have some partners that we work with that are able to provide support here for enterprise customers or anyone else that really needs to back up their data in the cloud.
Yeah, and I think John said it, but selfishly, I had a talk at Team that is not public, so that's unfortunate. So I'll just talk about it here. It was with Haiku, who provides backup solutions for SaaS. But what the easiest way to look at it is, or think about it is, do you have a backup solution if you're on Atlassian's cloud? The answer is no, unless you have something like Haiku. You just don't. Atlassian takes backups. You could take your own backups. Deploying those, getting your hands on them from Atlassian, or deploying the one you took, not as easy as you think it is if you've not tried. Yeah.
Yeah,
Great, thank you.
The biggest hurdle with a lot of the backups is that some of the, right, so like JSM assets, for example, isn't included in your native backup functionality currently. The restoration of a cloud backup right now will overwrite plugin data, and so you'll have to contact the plugin vendor as well to kind of restore that data additionally. So having some kind of granularity and control checks and controls of who can remove data and what kind of data would kind of reduce that risk profile for a lot of businesses, but also looking into what are the kind of partner specific options and implementations that I can use. Just to double back on what Nick said, strongly recommend Haiku, not just an Atlassian SaaS backup provider as well.
Awesome, thank you. We are at time, so if we didn't get to, I know there's more questions in the chat. We will follow up with you after this and make sure that you have all the answers. I know, again, lots and lots of information coming out. Some of it can be overwhelming. Sometimes it causes more questions than there are answers. So we are happy to talk to you and help shed some light on the things that you want to know. I do have to mention, someone said, "What happened with Trump?" And we're like, "Oh yeah, that."
I was gonna say to that, like, you were surprised it wasn't in the keynote. I wasn't particularly surprised by that. That was, and I think that is another thing that Atlassian is trying to figure out how that fits into that system of work, right? Like it has been sort of not a forgotten tool, but a tool that has not found its home yet in the Atlassian stack. So I was not surprised it wasn't part of the keynote. Although I agree it's kind of conspicuous in its absence in terms of where does it really fit. I don't know that Atlassian has figured it out yet.
You know how many Trello boards I've forgotten about? Like I've created, I forgot.
Yes. So we didn't touch on some of your favorites. So you have questions, hit us up and we can talk more about that. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you to all of our panelists for sharing your expertise. And we hope to see you again. Look for, again, more information, more follow-up, all the good stuff coming out of Team 24. And yeah, thank you so much.